You are listening to the Julie Parker Practice Success Podcast, where you discover management insights and strategies for your successful dental practice. There are also interviews with key people in the industry who have advice and services to help you and your team achieve great success. Welcome to this episode of the Julie Parker Practice Success Podcast. And today's guest is someone that I'm very, very excited about. I feel like I know her intimately. We've met her on a number, maybe two occasions, but I do follow all of her stuff and listen to her podcast to the point where I actually feel like she's a best buddy of mine. Welcome, Toni Everard.
Hi, Julie. I'm so excited to be here. And what a lovely introduction. Isn't it amazing how we build these relationships now with people virtually? It's so good. I love it.
It is, and we do really get a chance to have an insight. I think in years gone by, whenever people have put themselves out there, it's always in that very professional format. But now with all the social media and building a brand and things, we're putting much more of our personal selves out there as well.
Yeah.
And so I don't just know you, Toni, I know your family, I know your house renovation. I know everything. And for the audience out there, you are a business alignment coach and you've done a lot of work with NLP and other strategies to really help people succeed and create a better version of themselves, what they would like to see of themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. It has been a bit of a journey, but it's interesting what you were talking about then, Julie, even about what you were saying about, what you know about me from renovations and my family and everything else, is that I think that is one of the key things now about content creation. And like I said, the people that we do business with, we want to know them. So it's so much more now about documenting rather than content creation. And yeah, it's really fascinating place to be in. But of course, my background is in NLP. So I'm a qualified master trainer of NLP, which essentially means I can teach people how to teach NLP. So it's kind of as nerdy about NLP as you can probably get. But the thing that I am super passionate about is really helping people in business, because I think that business just provides an incredible vehicle for you to be able to create change in the world, and not just create change in the world, but to also be in charge of what you create for yourself financially, your lifestyle, being able to follow your purpose, all of those kinds of things. And I love bringing all of that together.
That's beautiful. And it's a busy, busy world with lots of messages coming our way. Anybody that is in business, but even in life as well, we have to do these things with our diet, with our health. We have to have rest time. We have to go out there and just make the day be as meaningful as possible. We need to know our values. We need to be in alignment with ourselves. We need to establish all our goals, our 1-year goals, 5-year goals, 50-year goals. We need to leave a legacy. We need to do all of these things. And I think we are so bombarded with the you shoulds and the messages out there, we get lost in it all. Do you find that people come to you sometimes saying, I know I want more, but I don't even know what that looks like anymore?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're spot on. There is so much messaging out there about what we should be doing. But, even talking about your purpose, right? Like a lot of people say, I don't know what my purpose is. The best description that I've heard about what is your purpose is your purpose is to be alive. Your purpose is just to be here every day and following your curiosity and doing things that you're interested in and having conversations with people and seeing how you can be in service and helping people. And if you're doing that, you're living your purpose, and that can then change and evolve as you go. And I think that a lot of the ways that all of this sort of well-being and success type information, a lot of what it does is, I think, makes people feel like it's something out there that they have to learn how to do, whereas a lot of it is just really being aware of how you're already doing it and just fine-tuning it to create the types of outcomes you actually want. And I think when we bring it more into of who are we being rather than what are we doing, it just becomes more of a natural extension of who we are and how we get to live.
Yeah, that's true. So true. And it reminds me of this expectation on young people. What are you going to study? Because what career do you want, and what university are you going to go to? And you're going to make all those decisions before that you even hit the age of 20.
Yeah.
And so there is an expectation, even from a young age, that we're supposed to know the path that we're going to want to be on. But the only way we know the path that we want is to beat down a few paths and see how they make us feel. And slowly but surely, we'll start to become aligned with the things that we enjoy doing. And coming from a dental industry profession perspective, there've certainly been dentists that I've spoken to that are still dentists today because they studied at uni for 5 years. That's the only
Mm,
reason, because I studied it. And so that's what I have to be now.
mm.
And how on earth were they going to know what dentistry was made up of when they were 18, 19, and even throughout university? You still don't get a very strong sense of what it's going to be like working in this profession day after day after year. And what
Mm.
happens if it's really not hitting my buttons after a few years?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really great point because I think really long, right, in my perspective anyway, long gone are the days where you do the same profession for 50 years. Like things are just moving so fast. And I know when I was at school, I didn't even know what my job now is. I don't think it existed. So how can you possibly think of what it is you're going to be doing, when realistically the things that are going to be available in 20 years or 10 years aren't even things that we know about now. So things do move that fast. But I think the key thing, though, is in whatever profession that you're in, and like one of the things that I love about having my own business and what I do is that it's continued to evolve as my business has like grown and gone along, and how I've evolved. And so, there's things that I used to do that I don't do anymore, but I still feel like I'm very much aligned with fulfilling my purpose and helping people and making a difference, but it just changes. So, for example, I used to be training. I spent 8 years in the training room teaching NLP, and I loved teaching those skills to people, and I still think they're highly valuable. But I just got to a point where I'm like, I feel like I've done that now.
Yeah.
Right. And there's other things that I want to be doing and helping how I help people and making an impact. So I think it's just being open to, if you know what really lights you up beyond just a specific skill set, then I think it opens up a lot more possibility for you to sort of innovate and evolve that as you go along. And I'd imagine that's the same. I can't say I'm an expert in the dental industry, Julie, but I'd imagine, from what I know from going to the dentist, that there's a whole array of services that happen, and different dental practice probably specialize in different types of things and what they do. So I think when you have that space, you can really look at what is my vision for myself and my growth, and not just limit it to a specific set of services or skills.
Completely agree. And there is a lot of variety that can be brought into your job as a dentist and as a dental practitioner, and also the other team members as well. Because you're right, every dental practice is quite different in the way they do things and the services they offer. And one of the things that has come into my head, or something that I'm working on currently now with a couple of practices, and an area where I thought, oh, Toni would be so great in this space, is that freeing dental practitioners up to be able, and in essence, anybody, freeing people up to be able to make their career what they would like it to be if they know they can get out of their own way.
Yeah.
It's such a common thing for dentists to struggle, for example, with offering ideal treatments or quoting because of this fear of rejection or fear of
Mm,
a bad response from the patient. Is cost what? I'm going to pay for
mm.
your children going through university. All of
Yeah.
these sort of comments. But also from a team perspective, I'm not going to own my own business because I don't want to have all the difficult conversations with people if they don't end up performing well. And I don't believe I am adequate enough to be able to manage a whole business by myself. And what you're talking about with your NLP history, and feeling like I've done that now. I've, just been reminding myself over the last few days of Tony Robbins' quote of, in order to be happy, you just need to be progressing.
Yeah,
Progress for human beings equals happiness.
yeah,
And I would love to see dental practitioners out there and people, broader throughout the whole dental team getting out of their own way so they can actually paint whatever future that they want.
yeah, absolutely. And yeah, you're spot on. I often talk about that, Tony Robbins. It comes from the six human needs, and growth and contribution are the two necessary skills for us to have, or human needs for us to feel success and fulfillment and satisfaction and things in our life. And so I think with any of those things, what we have to shift out from is being identity based. And identity based says, oh, I'm not the kind of person who can, whether that's have hard conversations or manage my own business or offer, different services, to moving into an identity of anything is just a skill set and I can learn it. And that is the big difference, because managing people is a skill set. It's a learned thing. Sales is a skill set. It's a learned thing. Even having a fear of rejection is a learned thing. So there's a point at some time in the past where, something happened or you observed something and you decided that rejection is a scary thing and it feels bad, or it means something about you, but it's something that you can learn differently as well. And I was talking to one of my groups about something similar today, actually, on one of my group coaching calls. And really, we were discussing the fact that really thinking about who your ideal clients are. And your ideal clients are people who are problem aware, they value their potential, they want to live in their best. And for people who want to live in their best, and if that's dentistry, having the best oral care, the best aesthetics around their teeth, whatever that might be, then they're going to thank you for offering them something that's going to help them achieve that. And so I think so often we get caught up worrying about the people who don't want it, who don't like it, who are going to complain, that we miss the whole group of people who are our ideal clients that are going to be grateful and thankful and feel empowered by being able to make those decisions and creating that change for themselves. And that's the key shift. That's where we want to step into. And, are there people that are going to go, oh my God, how expensive is that? Of course they are, but that's their limitation. And it's like, okay, that's fine. You can say no. All I'm doing is offering you a better reality or a better outcome for yourself. You don't have to choose it. That's okay. And know that really rejections are people saying no to themselves more than no to you.
Oh, that's
And that
powerful.
is, yeah, that is the biggest thing that we need to realize. And sometimes even it's a not right now. Sometimes people just like to say no as a way to process something that's been offered until they've got a chance to think about it more. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways around that. But I think the key thing is always having a mindset that you can learn. You can learn a different way of being. You can learn a different way of managing things. And if you believe that it's all about learning rather than having a fixed identity of who you are, then the sky's the limit, really.
Very good. It reminds me of that man that I think he was an American guy that had a problem with rejection. And so he went out and intentionally got rejected 100 times. Remember that?
Yeah.
Remember that guy? And so he was, I think part of his project was to go out and ask for money off people off the street, just so
Yeah.
people would say no to him. Surprisingly, a whole bunch of people said yes to him as well. But after going through the process of being rejected so many times, he said it felt like a game very soon into it. It felt like a bit of a game, and the sting of the rejection was removed.
Yeah.
And this fear of creating an environment where it doesn't just all go through swimmingly and smoothly, it really does hamper us, and kind of subconsciously we don't go past the thought of, oh, that just can't happen. I can't hear that rejection. I can't have that no come my way. And so
Mm.
I'm not even going to think further into it. But I love that perspective that, it's kind of taking the hook out of the answer, out of the other person responding in a certain way, giving them the free will to be able to respond in whatever way that they like. And you just focus on what your job is, which is advising this patient about what their treatment options are and what their condition is. And if you don't do anything, what will end up happening.
Mm.
I've been listening to a periodontal video on something a little bit different. But in that video, and it's an American guy, he said that one of the biggest reasons why dentists are sued is not because of wrong diagnosis, but for non-diagnosis. So they weren't even telling the patients what their condition was. And I looked it up here in Australia too, and apparently it's, Chatty Cathy. If I call ChatGPT Chatty
Oh,
Cathy,
yeah.
whatever ChatGPT says about it, if it's true or not. But it's got to be close to the truth if it's up there that if you are not communicating effectively enough, if you're allowing this shield of fear or wanting to only present good information to the patient so you get a good relationship going, then you're actually putting yourself a bit at risk as well.
Mm.
I often say to dental team members, can you imagine going along to a cardiologist saying, I'm here for my checkup. I want to make sure everything's right. And the cardiologist says, yep, you'll be right for another 6 months. And then something happens. And you go back to the cardiologist and say, why didn't you pick this up? Oh, I did pick it up. I was just afraid you wouldn't want to hear about it.
Yeah.
You'd be pretty pissed.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think, that is such an important thing, is that it is our emotion that motivates our behavior. And often people get stuck in the thought of that moment where they might feel something that feels uncomfortable. And there's 2 points to that. And one is, you have felt those emotions however many times in the past, and you've been able to deal with it. So a lot of it is just building that resilience in yourself that says, it's okay for me to feel uncomfortable. I can deal with that feeling. It's not I'm not going to die, right? Like, that's the thing. And the second part of that is realizing how fleeting those feelings actually are.
Mm.
And most emotions will, like, peak and subside within about 90 seconds at the most. And the only time that they get extended is if we avoid something. So the more we avoid it and thinking, oh, that's what I need to do, then the more you're going to feel that discomfort until you actually get it done. And so it's always thinking that's, that time beyond whatever it is you think it's going to be difficult for it. So if it's a conversation with someone telling them some kind of news, it's thinking about a successful completion beyond that conversation. And, I think we have to as well empower our clients as well in knowing that, trusting that they're able to deal with the reality of their life. And we can't protect other people from that. If we tell them something that they then feel uncomfortable about, we haven't caused that discomfort. We're delivering it. But I think if you choose to do that well and with compassion for the person, it can actually deepen the relationships that you have, because they get to know that they can trust you, that when they feel uncomfortable, that you're still there, that you're still supporting them and helping them move through that, rather than putting it back to you and what you need them to do to make you feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And that's the switch. When we move from, I talk about service over validation. So when we're in service, we're focused on our clients and what they need and how we can best help them. But when we're in looking for validation, we're looking for our clients to give us feedback that makes us feel like we're okay. And it's a natural thing to sort of do, but it's not in service. You can't be in service of your clients while you're expecting them to help you feel a certain way. We've got to take responsibility for how we feel and then hold that space for our clients to get the support that they need.
Gosh, that's just so big. I don't want to insult anybody in the audience, but I just wonder if that's actually playing a substantial role. I've often heard dentists say, oh, when you come out of university, they're telling you that you are completely and utterly competent. You're out there, you're the king of dentistry. Go out there and show your brilliance, sort of thing. So I wonder if there is that in service of your own validation rather than in service of the patient dynamic actually going on, and people kind of never shift out of it. But I'm sure that's only a very small number of dentists, I'm sure.
Yeah, and look, and it can show up in, in slight ways. And in my mind, nothing's a problem unless it's a problem, right? We're all human. We're all got our own little quirks and things that we go about. But if it is a problem and you're more worried about what someone's going to think about you or how you've just delivered something, then that's the on the spot switch. Just switch it around. Instead of worrying about what they think about me, I'll worry about how they are. And then when and it's the same as anything, like being of the service of other people solves a lot of your own problems, right? It does. I mean, they even talk about this for people who are depressed or anything else. It's like, go and help somebody else. It'll make you feel better. And it's just that natural kind of shift. Take the focus away from yourself and any perceived flaws and see how you can actually help the person in front of you.
I love that. And see yourself as a facilitator for this person to get back to return to good oral health. And nowadays, there's so much evidence, bring them back to a big chunk of their systemic health as well.
Yeah.
The oral systemic link is just so strong and it impacts so many different conditions as well. But be that facilitator. So your job now is to encourage them to share where the barriers are and facilitate them to solutions around those barriers. There can be, solutions around money. There could be all sorts of payment plans going on. There could be an intermediary treatment before they get the more ideal treatment done. If it's around, perceptions of, oh, I'm already too old, I'm going to die soon, I won't bother getting that treatment done, then you can have that conversation around things as well. And so it's less about whether that patient is actually saying yes to your treatment. It's less about that patient agreeing with your treatment plan as well. Because as we know, with the 5 steps of grief?
Yeah.
Going through,
I couldn't tell you exactly what they are off the top of my
yeah.
head, but there's denial and anger and all those things. Yeah.
That's right. So there could be elements of that coming in as well. So there, as you say, it's just not yes right now because I need to go through my process. I need to go through, depending on what kind of news you've delivered. If it's just you've got a decay, you need a filling, we can get over that pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But if it's, you need to have, a number of teeth treated to a quite fair degree, it's going to be a big financial, emotional and time investment, then allow them that space to be able to absorb the information and process it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is something that people need to process if it's big news. And I think, the other thing that you touched on, which is, really important as well, is helping people understand what are the next steps. I think, 2 things. One is deliver it in a way that you're not making the other person wrong, so that they're not feeling shame or anything else about that situation, because, people have their perceived flaws pointed out, that can lead to shame about, how they've been looking after themselves or whatever else. But then, yeah, really be in that space if I want to help you with what the next steps are. So if someone is, obviously upset or distressed, take the time to find out what is it specifically that they're distressed about. Is it the distress about financial thing? Is it maybe they've got distress because they have fear about having dental treatments and it sounds very invasive or something like that? So I think the more that you can actually be curious to find out what their reaction is based on, then you can help them, create a solution. And especially if it's something big and it seems overwhelming, if people are just presented with a big thing and they don't know how that's going to start or what that's going to look like, then that can be distressing for people. So that's, the solution for overwhelm is to break it down into really manageable steps, which could literally be, this is the very first thing that we'll do.
Yeah, that is absolutely fantastic because dentistry is confusing. And a lot of dentists fall into that trap of, I'm telling you about a crown now. Now I'm going to tell you about every step of the crown and how I'm going to get this burr and do this and do that and then take an impression. And the laboratory technicians is going to do this and do that and do this, thinking that that's the information the patient needs to know. Again,
Mm,
going back to that cardiac example, that's like a cardiac surgeon saying to you, well, first thing I'm going to open you up.
yeah,
And then I'm going to use this type of suture and this type of scalpel and all these things. You don't need to know all of that. And so part of it is when you're coming back down to the, okay, patient, this is your next best helpful step. That's
yeah,
bringing it down to something that they need to do, therefore they need to be aware of in their language. They don't need to know your steps, they need to know their
yeah,
next step.
exactly. That's exactly the thing. It's like, yeah, what you're saying is the same as if we go to the mechanic. I've got my car booked in next Monday. When I go there, I've got no interest in what they're going to do to my car once it's there. I just want to know I'm going to pick it up and it's going to be good to go, like for the next 12 months or whatever. But knowing what are those steps. So in that instance, for me, I wanted to know I'm going to a new mechanic. Is it easy? Where do I park? Do I get in there? Like, what will I have a loan car? Like, I'm just worried about the things that are going to affect me. So, that's exactly the thing. What you were saying is that really step out the client's part of that journey rather than how you're going to perform that.
Yeah. And then they go out confused and then we wonder why they don't say yes. I don't know what I'm saying
Yeah.
yes to.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that is something for sales as well. And I think, like in any profession, if you're around people who do what you do all the time, a lot of things seem like common knowledge, but they're just not. And so the more simple that you can explain things to people and explain it with just enough information that they can make a informed yes is way better than just over delivering information that they don't understand. And because if you confuse people, you lose people.
Yeah. And I think this is where ChatGPT can be an enormous help.
Mm.
Because I remember speaking to, can't remember her name, but that's okay.
It's coming
Nerissa
back to you.
Bentley, Nerissa Bentley, the health writer, the Melbourne health writer, and she writes copy for health practices, including dental, that's all APRA compliant. And she says the information that you put out there, the content you put out there on your website, newsletters, etc., needs to be at a level that a grade 3 child would be able to understand.
Yeah,
Otherwise, it will be over the heads of many of the people reading it.
yeah,
And the same is true for the way we explain things. We need to bring it back to a point that really understands. They're not understanding a lot of the words that we use. And so if a dentist wants to double check themselves on this, record into your phone what your normal explanation is and then upload it to ChatGPT and say, can you now explain this in a way that a grade 3 kid with no dental knowledge would be able to understand? And it can start to allow you to see the huge shift in information and the way it's delivered.
yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think ChatGPT is incredible now. And of course, yeah, you can just talk that straight into ChatGPT on your phone. And I think it also, that's a kind of conversation around features and benefits as well, is that you need to be talking to your clients in the language of benefits. Like, what is the benefit going to be for this person? And the more that you've spoken to them and you understand what's important to them, the easier it is that you're going to be able to explain to them in language that resonates with them what the benefit is going to be. And as long as you're in a place of, I'm here in service, I want to, and there's a difference as well between what people need and what they actually want. And, sometimes we can be in a space where when we know everything about what we do, we can say, well, I can see the client needs this, this, and this, and they may well have those problems. But if that client doesn't see the value in them solving that problem, they're not going to want to solve it. So, but the other side of that is sometimes clients don't understand the connection between what they want and what they need. So it's having these conversations with people to get really clear about what it is that they want, and then being able to translate that for ourselves as the expert into what does the client actually need, but then deliver what they need aligned with what it is that they actually want. And it's it's simple when you become really client focused, when you really think about that I'm wanting to explain, because that's how people think, in their day-to-day lives. If someone's got a problem, you know, with their dental health or whatever else, it might be that they've got pain. They're not thinking about what technique do they need done to their teeth. They're thinking, I want to be pain-free. Right?
Yeah.
So that it's we've just got to think about it in that way, so we can deliver it in a way that is going to resonate with the client, and they feel like that they're being heard, they're being listened to, and that essentially they're going to get the outcome that they want.
Yeah, that's it. We've got a 1 year dental practice management online course that we deliver. And I fall into this trap all the time. I've fallen into the trap on the website landing page for it as well, where someone will ring up and say, "Tell me about the course." Oh, well, you have weekly live sessions and you get access to all the curriculum straight away, and it covers these particular modules and it costs this much, but you can pay monthly as well. And it takes a year, but only from Feb to November, where I should be saying it'll help you be more confident. You'll be able to manage difficult conversations more. If patients come in and complain, you're more than happy to step in and say, "Yep, yep, I'll take that complaint. No dramas at all." You get to know all the great systems, and the patients will become more and more satisfied moving through. And I fall into the trap all the time of just focusing on the features rather than the benefits. And there's that
Yeah.
great line of the minute you're saying, you can say the feature, but you also have to say, and that means
Yeah.
that you'll feel
Yeah.
this way.
Yeah, that means you will. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And it's the same for anything. I think, yeah, but again, it's just one of these things that's a learning behavior, right? It's a
Mm.
learning behavior. And so the way to do that, because there was a time, my background is in banking and accounting. So I worked in banking for about 10 years, and banking is working in a bank branch is a sales role, right? That you're just consistently looking for referrals for home loans and insurances and all those kinds of things. And at that time, I absolutely hated it. I did not like sales at all. And it's in fact why I studied accounting and got out of banking, so that I wouldn't have to do any sales. And I remember at that time, my branch manager would be saying, "Toni, how can we motivate you to do the sales?" And I'm like, "You don't understand. The clients love me. That's my job. They love being served by me. They're happy and da da da." But I missed the whole part of that. They could have been happier. Right?
Oh,
They could have been happier if I was really like listening and like keying into where they were at and what they wanted to achieve and what I could provide them to get there faster. And so I had to learn, of course, in business, you have to learn sales and really looking at sales as a service. And so it's a learned skill. If I was to believe I'm just not a salesperson, I would never have been able to grow my own business. But looking at it as skill and like a learned skill, and not just a learned skill, but it is part of the steps to servicing your clients efficiently and effectively and providing that really good service, because otherwise you could have clients that you're under servicing, and then another dentist comes along and says, "Oh, well, do you know what? You could have this, and this. I can help you with it." And they'll be like, "Wow, well, my dentist hasn't told me about that."
and that happens. That
Yeah.
happens. Yeah. And I think that's where maybe some of these lawsuits come from too. Like, you've had this condition for years, but I've been seeing the dentist for years. Why didn't they tell me? But even from the perspective of things that are a bit more cosmetic, like just tooth whitening, a lot of practices don't love promoting tooth whitening. They think it's too salesy and gimmicky and pushing the patient into doing something that they would not normally do. And there's another dental person out there, Angus Pryor. He does consultancy, marketing, and all the things. And he was seeing, I think he'd moved 3 separate times or 3 different dentists, regular attender. Not one of them said anything about his quite crooked lower teeth. And then
Yeah.
one day he went along to somebody and they said, "Oh, did that bother you that your lower teeth are crooked? Did you know that we can do something about that?" "Oh, really?" It's the first I've heard of it. And so
Yeah,
we do need to, and I love what you said about could they have been, could my clients in the banking world, could they have been happier? And I've written this down because I think this is the key. At the end of each day, when you reflect back over your management of your patients, if you were to ask yourself about each one of them, could I have left them healthier? What would
yeah,
the answer be? Because if
yeah,
the answer is no, there was more left on the table there that I could have discussed with them, then we got to start looking at the reasons why you didn't actually raise those topics. And this is where I feel like, dental practitioners working with somebody like yourself, or anybody out there working with somebody like yourself, this is where we think we are doing our level best and we are doing our level best, but how much of us is getting in the way of us having a deeper impact on the people around us.
yeah,
And you'll know Dr. Bruce Lipton. I think you've even mentioned him in your podcast as well.
absolutely.
And he talks about the wherever there's discomfort or things or you're struggling to achieve that thing in life, that's where there is quite possibly a core belief that's preventing you from achieving the success that you want. And so if that question, could they be healthier, could I have left these patients with the knowledge of how to be healthier, if that's making you feel uncomfortable, then that is certainly a space to reach out to, look into, become aware of what could possibly be going on that's stopping me from having these conversations with patients.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, you can always look at your own projections. So one of the things I always talk to my clients about is that you want to sell in the way that you like to be sold to, and you also want to act like the type of client that you want to have. And so that means if you've got any barriers around people like selling to you or offering things to you, then absolutely address that within yourself and resolve what does that even mean? Because sometimes where some of this stuff can come is if people aren't comfortable expressing their own boundaries or saying no to people, or even expressing if they're not happy, or they find conflict uncomfortable, or anything like that, well then obviously that will follow you into your own workplace and your own business. And um, yeah, 100%. It's one of the things that we have to be okay with is that people feel a range of emotions, and that's not our responsibility. It's and just because somebody has received some information that makes them feel uncomfortable, it doesn't mean that they're not able to deal with it. It doesn't mean that it's your fault. And it doesn't mean that they weren't going to find out that anyway. Or, like I said, if you miss it and it gets worse, they're going to feel a whole lot worse. So, not feeling responsibility for how other people feel is a real key thing, and also not making other people responsible for how you feel, right? Because whatever you perceive other people are going to do, it's likely that you've got part of that within yourself. And so if you come from a place where you become fully resourced within yourself, and when I say fully resourced, it means that you don't need anything from anybody else. So you don't need anybody to, you still have boundaries, but you don't need anyone to give you any particular type of feedback for you to know that you're okay. You don't need anyone to avoid any particular thing for you to feel comfortable. That you can hold your own in whatever situation that you're in, then it's much easier for you to expect other people to be able to do that as well, and hold space for them to do that. And so this applies for everything around, rejection, abandonment, all these kinds of things. It's not uncommon for me to work with people who are afraid, like if they get some kind of a bad review or an upset client, that it's somehow going to tarnish their reputation, and that person's going to go and talk about them, and it's going to, have some kind of detrimental effect. But the fact is that if you're doing everything right, and even if you do make a mistake, that you rectify it and you take ownership and you do something for it, like that's a very normal part of human behavior. And people that complain about things, they complain about things anyway. And Julie, I don't know about you, but if I'm ever reading reviews and I see really negative reviews, usually to me they look very whingy. Like they look because like I know if I'm not happy with something, I will go to that business and say something and like say, like try to rectify it, right? It would be a fair stretch for me to like get online and start bad mouthing anyone or do anything like going on.
There
So
forever.
yeah, so the people that do want to do that, it's more about them.
Mm.
It is more about them, and you're not going to get a lot of those people unless you are literally doing something that's going to attract it. But the more that you are working with people and getting positive reviews and things like that, the more people are going to back you anyway. And the more anyone that's got a negative kind of response is going to look like, they're just a little bit out there anyway. So I think, we've got to move away from that feeling of one person's opinion is going to ruin us.
Yeah, I'm going to say, um, with I've got two Facebook profiles. One
Yeah,
is the dental one, and the other one's the personal one. And the personal one, I was quite outspoken during the whole pandemic and stuff like that about bits and pieces.
yeah,
And one of the most empowering things I did was I'd post and then I'd run away. I would ne and I still don't, I never read the comments or the threads or anything like that. But
yeah,
if you don't know about it, it doesn't even bother you. And it reminds me of that poor man that lost his wife. She was murdered here in Melbourne by that former football player's son, where she was going out for a jog. I can't remember her name.
oh,
But one of the reporters said to him, because at the start, because she was missing at the start, a lot of the public were saying he must have done it. It must have been domestic violence issue. And he was asked once they caught the actual murderer, how did you cope with all the trolls online? And he said, what trolls online? He said, what are you talking about? And they explained it to him, and he said, well, it hasn't bothered me because I haven't looked.
yeah.
And this is the big thing, isn't it? That, and I've gone through this. I don't know if you've heard of the Being Profile by Ashkan Tashvia. It's such a
No,
beautiful thing. I'm going to send you some information about it. It's such a beautiful
please
thing.
do. Yeah.
Oh, it's wonderful. But it talks about these common 32 ways of being that help us know how we show up to ourselves and out to the world, but then how to be more on the healthy side of each of those ways of being so we get better outcomes, happier life.
Mm,
One of the core ways of being is integrity. That
mm,
if we are in integrity, we feel sufficient. That when things break or falter, we put them back together again. That
yeah,
regardless of what other people think, feel, say, what our level of success is in life, we feel whole.
yeah,
And it when I then move with people through all the other ways of being, for me, I feel like it constantly comes back to this integrity thing. If you've got high integrity, then it's okay to be vulnerable. If you've got high integrity, then you will naturally feel more empowered. If you've got high integrity, then you'll naturally be more effective. And that integrity thing is huge when we are talking about, if you are concerned about what the other people around you, the patients, the team members, the whatever, are going to feel about the information that you deliver, then it will be poorly influencing it.
oh yeah,
Yeah. But if you are feeling
absolutely.
quite integrous about it, then you'll be sharing it freely, and that's all you care about. What they do with the information's up to them.
Up to them, yes. And I think, that really ties into that your certainty needs to trump their doubt when it comes to delivering information, And I think this is the thing that people often miss. And of course, I'm always under the assumption that I'm talking to people who are good people, who want to do good things in the world, who have good intentions, are here in service and just want to live a good life, right? I'm never I'm never talking about these things for the people who want to manipulate or do bad things or whatever else. And if you have absolute certainty that what you're doing is in good faith and for the betterment of other people and, for yourself, then absolutely, like you said, deliver it with certainty. Like that will have an impact on other people. Because if what you're delivering is authentic and it's in integrity, then their doubts are likely based on some information that's probably not true or relevant anyway.
Yeah. And
Right?
actually only true that second as well.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I think that is the key thing. And when you can hold that for yourself, and look, it is a practice. I can't say that I'm perfect at that. It's, I think the more visible you get, the more, you need to practice this as well. But the more that you can back yourself, essentially, and just decide that you're going to be okay, there are always going to be people who support you. There will
Mm.
always be people that support you.
And that's how you find your tribe, isn't it?
Yeah,
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 that's it.
absolutely. And in fact, the more honest you are, the more people know who you are, and then the more they feel connected to you.
Yeah, yeah,
And I think that's the key thing. Like so many people are fearful that if people really knew them, that they would reject them. And the truth is, people will be more connected to you if they know that you're human and the perceived flaws or whatever it is that you think that you've got, that they know what they are, then they're like, oh, okay, yeah, I get it. You're a person like me.
yeah. To be able to become aware for a start, because I think there's a lot of unawareness around the things, the thought processes that stop us. I
Yeah.
agree with you wholeheartedly that so many of us just avoid discomfort, full stop.
Yeah.
And you saying that it normally just lasts for 90 seconds is kind of crazy.
That's it in perspective,
Because it
right?
can prevent us from achieving so much. It can really prevent us from shifting out of, our current identity and going, oh, well, wonder what else is out there that I can actually achieve. And I've repeated this a couple of times already, so people who do follow me will get bored with it. But it was a great lesson. I was listening to a podcast, a regular podcaster here in the dental world, and the podcast name is The Savvy Dentist. And an old episode, I've been going through a few old episodes of people's podcasts that I enjoy, had a guy named Jeff Curry speaking. And he was talking about a previous client that he was working with. And this previous client was a fish and chip shop owner, fish and chip shop owner. And he was turning over $1 million and he wanted to sell his business. He ended up selling it to somebody who was another fish and chip shop owner, but his business was only turning over $600,000. And so the guy that had the $600,000 business said, you beauty, the guy that's turning over $1 million business, that must be in a great location, have great branding, have great loyal clientele. I'm going to buy that one because that's my dream to have a $1 million turnover fish and chip shop.
Mm,
So he bought it. And then within 2 years, guess what happened? He turned it into a $600,000 fish and chip shop
yeah.
because he wasn't doing anything different. And it is like that Tony Robbins thermostat thing.
Yeah.
He was absolutely functioning to within what his belief was that he could achieve. And so he made his subconscious made sure that he was going to maintain his temperature as $600,000 fish and chip
Yeah.
shop. And so, but he would be quite unaware about it. He would just feel frustration. Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't realize. And oh, maybe, blame the other person. Oh, it's because of the way he sold the business, because he stole business from me, because of all these things. So we justify and all the things. But where that discomfort lies, where just to be able to front up to it and just have that thought, I'm going to face it because nothing bad's going to happen if I face it. Surely only good things happen when you face it.
Oh, totally, totally. And, I think that is the key thing. Like you said, awareness is, I talk a lot about taking responsibility or being at cause. And, that really comes from the way of thinking that you are creating every outcome that you have. And it happens in all the subtle ways of your daily routine, the things that you consistently think about, the conversations that you have, the people that you spend time with, all of those things create up this who you are now and the results that you have. So first of all, you got to be aware of that type of thinking. And then, the second one is understanding what's the difference between reality and a limiting belief, right? Because anything that limits what you think is possible for you, and sometimes these can be very cleverly dressed up as reality. Oh, well, the government's doing this and interest rates are that and whatever that might be. But the fact is, we have to look and is it possible? Is it possible in the world? So have people had these types of results in different circumstances? It's like even if you look at any of the global financial crises or the depressions or anything, there were always people that succeeded in business and made money and went along, right? Why is that? Well, it's not because they've had some kind of special circumstances. They might have, but they would have created them for themselves because they believed that they could create something different than what appeared to be around them. And so anything that you think that is a limitation on what's possible for you is something that you need to be able to get awareness of and change. And so again, it's that what do I want to be possible? What do I actually want? And focusing on that. And that's when we do focus on like, what do I actually want, and look at creating that and constantly keep adjusting to where am I in relation to getting that. That's when things just drop in, like opportunities pop in, things that we don't expect come in, because if we haven't done it before, we don't know exactly how it's going to happen. All we need to know is what do I actually want to happen, and I keep taking focused and like intentional action towards that thing to create that. And once you realize that and really sink it in that is how the world works, and you stop pointing the finger outside at every other reason or whatever else, that's when you'll create the biggest shifts. And it applies to everything. Like, and I see it time and time again, even with my clients. I've got some clients that come and tell me that, oh, it's so hard to make money. I've got other clients that say it's easy to make money, right? Like, it's just whatever you decide is going to be right. And it's just working out what are those things that are in the way of what I say that I want, that I think is limiting me. And if the better you can get at catching those and deciding that you're going to create something different, then the more you'll create what it is that you want.
Agreed. And as you were explaining all of that, all of the limiting beliefs that I hear dental team members have, and I was part of them for many years as well, they're all coming up in my head. Like all these limiting beliefs, such as, oh, people don't want to spend a lot of money on their mouth. People don't want to have those kind of procedures done. People always have trouble. People think that dentistry is really expensive. And even to the degree of our own personal thing and what we believe that we can achieve, I don't want to make money off people in this way. It's bad to make money off people who are sick. And so all you have to do is start listening to your own thoughts in your head when you are faced with the prospect of searching and reaching for more. Then your brain will tell you why that can't happen. And those are the limiting beliefs, aren't they? And we can get over them.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think it is so interesting though, isn't it? And like, it's funny because I just saw my mum yesterday actually, and she was saying to me, she goes, oh, I have to go and get a new set of teeth. And my mum's had dentures since I think in her 30s. She had some kind of gum issues. And she says, oh, it's going to be $3,000 and something, right? And she goes, it's a lot of money. And I said, well, how long did the last ones last you for? And she goes, oh, about 30 years. And I said, well, seems like it was a bit of a bargain, really.
Yeah, that's right.
He goes, yeah, well, these ones should last me out now. And I'm like, well,
Good investment. Let's go.
yeah. Well, I think, it's like whenever people say, something's expensive, it's like, well, what are you comparing it to?
Yeah, nothing. Are you
Um,
comparing it to not having to spend anything? Because I think this is what patients do sometimes. They think it's expensive compared to not having to do anything.
yeah,
That's like
yeah.
apples and apples.
Well, yeah, well, but then, you just look at it, there's always a cost. So if you don't do something, it's going to cost you. And
Mm,
so, often like the cost isn't necessarily going to be, well, you're not necessarily paying for that particular procedure or that set of teeth. You're paying for the result that it gives you, like that you get to not have to worry about your teeth for every day and night, that you don't have pain, that you get to feel confident in how you smile, that you get to know that, you've got good health in general, that like all those other things. And I think that's what you're paying for. You're not paying for that one-off treatment or whatever else it is.
yeah, and I think sometimes this just could possibly be a statement of fact for them as well. They're not saying do something about that or it's going to stop me from getting it. It's just a statement
Mm,
of fact. Oh, that's expensive. As
mm,
when we're looking at veterinarians and they've got your beautiful precious pet with them and they've said we can save its life. It's going to be $3,000. You go, oh damn, $3,000. Of course I'm going to get it done, but $3,000.
yeah,
So it's just a statement of this is how I feel about that amount of money.
yeah, absolutely. And I think we just need to be okay with people expressing themselves.
Yeah.
And like I was saying before, just hold that space for them. Right? It's not, it's just something that they're experiencing. It's not necessarily about you. And so if we stop making it about us, and be in service and what does this person need right now, then, that can shift the whole dynamic. And I think even being understanding of people in that space, right? If they say, wow, that's expensive, like, okay, just agree with them. Like, yeah,
I think so too. Just agree with them. They're
yeah,
not asking you to do it for cheaper. They're
no,
not saying that you're overcharging.
yeah.
They're just
So,
saying it's expensive. Yeah, dentistry is expensive.
yeah, yeah. And that's why, we're all about helping people keep,
That's it.
really good oral health because, it's a prevention is better than the cure, I guess, isn't it? That's the whole thing. And I think that's the responsibility of staff as well when we look at, we were talking a bit about health and things before. And like I turned 50 this year and I'm in good health. And I haven't been to the doctor in about 5 years because I lost a bit of faith in
You know,
doctors
mate,
about that time ago.
I haven't been to the doctor for 15 years.
Yeah, but like I'm healthy, right? But it's something that I choose to do is look after my health. So, there was a lot of times earlier in my life that I didn't choose to look after my health. And I sort of got to a time I thought, well, I've seen what my parents have ended up like in their 60s, 70s, and I don't really want to be in that space. So, it's up to me to look after my health. And so, you know, wherever your clients are and the things that they've got going on, it is their responsibility. If they didn't want to, again, I don't know all of the ins and outs of what people have, but I know how to look after my teeth. I go for regular cleans and checkups. I brush and I, floss every day and, do all those kinds of things. And I eat good food and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not expecting that I'm going to have issues, right?
Yeah.
Because it's something that I actively do, but it's the same with all of my health. And I think that that's always a thing that people have, right? They're going to take responsibility for where they're at as well, for whatever their life experience is. You haven't caused that for them. That's where they're at. And, not all we want to sit there and go, well, sucked in, that's where you're at. But have some compassion for where they're at, but understand that it is their responsibility. Like
Yeah.
they've got themselves to this situation, and all you're doing is helping them to manage that. You haven't given them the problem. You haven't been the one that was your responsibility of how they looked after themselves up until this time.
Yeah.
But you can be there and help them, and that's the cost of them getting what they need. And I think, the other thing as well, Julie, when you're talking about people think, oh, no one wants to spend money. It's not even true. Like, there's plenty, people love spending money. They absolutely love spending money. They put photos all over social media all the time of the money that they spend. And it's really empowering for people if they can go and do something that's good for them and improves their life and, makes a difference. A lot of people are more than happy to do that. There's plenty of people that are spending loads of money on, their teeth.
That's it. And just like Amina, my business partner, said this morning when we had our students for the course, I said, what'd you do over the weekend? And she said, I discovered there's no financial crisis going on. There's no cost of living problem going on. I said, what do you mean? And she was laughing. But she went to some market in Essendon, some Italian market in Essendon, which has got very expensive stuff there. She said the place was packed, everyone. And she said, I went out thinking I spent $250. The bill was actually $450. So she's got a nice feast coming up over the coming days. But she said there was no pulling in of the purse strings at that place, that's for sure. But I think this is the thing that when we do, if we can help patients see the benefit of doing whatever it takes to maintain their oral health, that does shift the conversation. That's where they start seeing the value in the money that they're spending, because I'm not just buying a crown, I get to save this tooth, I can function on it, I've got peace of mind and all the things. And so you should around.
Definitely. And I think as well, like, a lot of people are just living in the moment and they don't necessarily know what are the long-term, like, possible problems or consequences or, what will happen if they don't solve this problem. And I think it's not that you want to create scare tactics for people, but it's part of that information is just really telling people that what it is, like where that value is for them. I mean, an example, like just a little example of this. The other day, I was at my nutrition warehouse, like supplement store, and I wanted to get like a magnesium hot chocolate because having hot chocolate at night and magnesium, it's all
Yum. That's nice. No cramps.
And the normal one that I buy was like $60 or something. And then they're like, oh, we don't have this one anymore, but we've got this one and it's $100. And I'm like, oh, $100 for hot chocolate. And I'm like, is that like a bit over the top? And then it's like, oh, well, it's got magnesium, but it's also got ashwagandha in it. And I'm going, oh, okay. And he goes, oh, we've got this one. It was half the size, but like, 3/4 of the cost or whatever. And I was like, well, how many serves does it have? And he said 60. I'm like, oh, well, that's way more than what I had before anyway. So now, like, it's going to last me longer and it's way better value. So, sometimes it's like a cost of something. People will pay all day long for things where they believe that, like, the perceived value of that thing is more than what they've actually got to pay for it. So, that's really the answer to everything, right? It's you can have something that's going to be 3,000 or 5,000 or whatever, however much money is, and 1 minute it can seem expensive and the next minute it can seem like an absolute bargain, just depending on what that perceived value is for that person. And again, that just comes down to understanding what's important to them. And like I said, like, what we think is common knowledge isn't really that common. So sometimes it's just educating our clients in a way that they can really understand it and shift from a place of going, oh my God, to like, wow, now I feel really empowered that I know this information and I'm doing this for my future self.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And that perceived value is huge. And I know that I don't want to take too much more of your time because I've already had you for an hour. But that perceived value is huge because that's why luxury cars are sold as well as beaten up old secondhand cars, because the values they hold personally, they see the value in having that higher purchase, and they'll pay more just for the exclusivity or for the bells and whistles, and to
Yeah.
make them feel like that they're living a wealthy life. And that's where they're making sure that I'll pay any money to have that sense of value in it. But with a dental practice, that sense of value is the trusting relationship, how the team treat them, the surroundings, and it's a package deal. It's the whole patient experience that that
Mm.
patient will be perceiving as a particular value. And if you concentrate on that as well, you are more likely going to balance out whatever costs that you're charging for your services. Toni, you've
Absolutely.
been so brilliantly awesome. If there are dental team members out there that think, gosh, I think I do have some limiting beliefs, and I think there are different ways of helping maneuver me through the awareness and then actions to take to actually start to be able to shift the kind of future that they have, because these things aren't holding them back anymore. What sort of ways do you work with people?
Yeah, absolutely. So I work with a range of business owners. I guess one to one, I work with a select few people, and that's where we go really deep into that mindset work, and really looking at what do you want to achieve in your business, and then unpacking what seems to be holding you back from that. And yeah, common things I see with the people that I work with are things like their relationship with money, or thinking that they're not good with numbers, or, beliefs around sales or managing other people and all those kinds of things. And even sometimes just being able to create a lifestyle for themselves that isn't stressed, right? I see, a lot of people with businesses that feel like they just have to go, 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 and they just have to, do everything, and find it hard to ask other people to do stuff. So, whatever that is, we go through and unpack it. So there's a range of ways that I work with people through, like doing a personal breakthrough, which is something that happens usually over about 6 weeks, to sometimes I work with people on their bigger goals for 6 or 12 months, moving forward. And I do have some programs, business and mindset programs, that are for service-based businesses as well. So there's a range of things. And I guess the easiest way to work out, how I can best help you is to reach out and get in touch with me. So, you can find me at ToniEverard.com. You can book in a complimentary 20-minute strategy call. I can have a chat with you. You can email me at Toni@ToniEverard.com. I'm pretty easy to find. Connect with me on LinkedIn. And yeah, we can have a chat. And I think, the thing is, like, whenever I always say, your business won't outgrow you. And so if you want to grow your business and results, and you're finding that that seems to be slow or hard going, or there's something there, then it's the work on yourself that is the key thing. And that's what I'm here for, because I honestly believe that the work that I do with people in business helps them help more people, and that's what we're here for.
Oh, it'd be beautiful. It'd be beautiful, because the wonderful thing is, if you feel like you're moving through this space, the wonderful thing is that there is help out there and it doesn't have to be permanent. And so your website, ToniEverard.com, go there and all your contact details are there. Toni, thank you so, so very much. All the links will be in the show notes. But thank you for your contribution today. It's going to be enormously helpful to, I think, a lot of people out there.
Thank you, Julie. It's so great to be on as your guest, and always wonderful having a chat with you as well.
You're gorgeous. Fantastic. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.
If you enjoyed this podcast, then I encourage you to head over to Amina and my website, dentalbusinessmastery.com.au. You will find all the information that you need if you would like to gain our assistance in helping you and your team achieve great success. If you would like to find out more, you can also email us directly at info@dentalbusinessmastery.com.au. Thanks so much for listening.